Welcome back to SwitchTop. From classic remakes to huge, modern adventures that can easily steal hundreds of hours from your life. From tactical battles to emotional stories and massive worlds, these are the 15 best turn-based RPGs you should absolutely check out on Switch. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake feels like stepping into one of the most important RPG adventures ever made, but rebuilt in a way that still respects the original charm. The HD 2D visuals give towns, caves, and battle scenes a warm pixel art style mixed with modern lighting that looks incredible on Switch. You start by building your own party, choosing different classes like warrior, mage, priest, and martial artist. And that freedom changes how battles play out from the very beginning. Combat stays classic turn-based, but it feels fast and satisfying because every encounter pushes you to think about spells, buffs, and enemy weaknesses. The adventure itself is huge, filled with hidden secrets, dangerous dungeons, and a world that slowly opens up as you travel by ship and explore new continents. The story keeps things simple but exciting, focusing on a legendary quest that grows bigger the deeper you go. Unicorn Overlord mixes strategy RPG combat with real-time movement in a way that feels fresh almost immediately. Instead of controlling every attack one by one, you build squads made up of different character classes and then watch battles unfold based on formations, abilities, and positioning. A frontline tank protecting fragile archers or healers can completely change the outcome of a fight, and experimenting with different team setups becomes incredibly addictive. The world map is packed with enemy strongholds, side missions, hidden recruits, and optional objectives that constantly reward exploration. The story follows a prince trying to reclaim his kingdom after a massive betrayal, but the real strength of the game is how alive the world feels. Every region has different cultures, political struggles, and characters who eventually join your growing army.
I have you.
It's up to you. I shall protect you.
Tactics Ogre Reborn is one of those games where every battle feels important, because positioning and decision-making matter just as much as raw strength. The combat takes place on grid-based maps with height advantages, terrain effects, magic ranges, and different unit classes, constantly forcing you to think several turns ahead. Knights can hold choke points, while archers attack from elevated ground, and magic users can completely shift a fight if protected properly. The game rewards patience and planning instead of rushing into battle. The story is darker and more grounded than most RPGs, focusing on war, loyalty, revenge, and political conflict between rival factions. Your choices during major moments can actually change the direction of the story, which gives the adventure a lot more weight because decisions feel personal instead of cosmetic. Super Mario RPG keeps the charm of classic Mario games while turning the adventure into a fun and approachable turn-based RPG that almost anyone can enjoy. Battles are simple at first, but timed button presses during attacks and defense make every fight feel active instead of passive. Landing perfect hits or blocking enemy attacks adds a rhythm to combat that keeps even regular encounters entertaining. Mario teams up with familiar faces along with some unexpected allies, and each party member has unique abilities that help keep battles varied throughout the game. The world is colorful, funny, and constantly changing, with different towns, puzzles, and goofy situations that give the adventure a lighthearted feel without becoming repetitive. The story revolves around restoring scattered star pieces before a dangerous new threat takes over the Mushroom Kingdom. But the game focuses more on fun character interactions and memorable moments than dramatic twists. Triangle Strategy is a tactical RPG built around difficult choices, careful planning, and battles that reward smart positioning more than grinding levels. Combat takes place on detailed maps filled with elevation changes, traps, flanking opportunities, and elemental interactions. You can freeze water to block paths, set grass on fire to damage enemies, or push units into dangerous positions, and those small decisions often decide entire battles. Every character has a specialized role, so building the right team for each encounter becomes a huge part of the experience. The story focuses on three nations caught in political tension over valuable resources, and the writing takes its time building alliances, betrayals, and conflicts between leaders. Instead of clearly good or evil choices, many decisions force you to pick between options that all carry consequences. Trails in the Sky first chapter starts small, but that slow beginning is exactly what makes the world feel believable later on. You follow Estelle and Joshua as they travel across the kingdom, taking jobs as junior bracers, basically adventurers who help people with everything from monster problems to local investigations. Over time, what begins as a simple journey slowly reveals bigger political tensions and hidden threats without rushing the story. The combat uses a turn-based system mixed with movement on a battlefield grid, so positioning matters alongside attack timing and magic usage. Characters learn arts for magic abilities and crafts for special skills, and building setups around turn order becomes really important during tougher fights. One of the best parts of the game is how alive the world feels. NPC dialogue constantly changes after story events, towns feel connected, and even side quests help flesh out the setting.
I'll be your opponent!
Octopath Traveler 2 improves almost everything from the first game, while keeping the beautiful HD 2D art style that instantly stands out on Switch. You choose from 8 different protagonists, each with their own personal story, abilities, and motivations, and the game lets you tackle their adventures in almost any order. Some stories are emotional, others mysterious or adventurous, and the variety helps the pacing stay fresh for a very long time. Combat is where the game really shines. Battles revolve around breaking enemy defenses by targeting weaknesses, then unleashing boosted attacks for massive damage once enemies are vulnerable. It creates a satisfying loop, where learning enemy patterns becomes just as important as leveling up. Character classes can also be combined later on, giving your party tons of customization options.
What's our plan? My spear shall strike through!
Pokemon Legends Arceus completely changes the usual Pokemon formula by focusing more on exploration, research, and survival in the wild instead of only gym battles. You explore large open areas filled with Pokemon roaming freely, and catching them becomes much more interactive because you can sneak through grass, throw items, distract aggressive creatures, or capture Pokemon directly without even entering battle. When battles do happen, the turn-based system feels faster and more dynamic thanks to agile and strong style attacks that can change turn order and strategy. The setting takes place long before modern Pokemon games, during a time when humans and Pokemon still fear each other, which gives the world a different atmosphere compared to the usual cheerful journey. Completing the Pokédex actually feels meaningful because studying Pokemon behavior is tied directly into progression. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door mixes humor, exploration, and turn-based combat into an RPG that stays entertaining almost the entire way through. Mario travels across strange locations, searching for magical crystal stars, while uncovering the mystery behind an ancient, hidden city beneath Roadport. The story balances comedy and adventure really well, constantly introducing weird characters and situations without losing momentum. Combat uses timed button inputs, similar to Super Mario RPG, but it adds stage mechanics where audiences react to battles, sometimes helping you or causing problems during fights. Building badge setups becomes one of the most satisfying parts of the game because badges completely change how Mario fights, letting players create defensive builds, risky attack-heavy setups, or balanced combinations. Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles delivers deep tactical combat wrapped inside a serious political story full of betrayal, ambition, and war between rival powers. Battles take place on isometric grid maps where positioning, height, movement range, and turn order can completely decide the outcome before swords even clash. The job system is what makes the game so addictive because characters can learn abilities from different classes and combine them together in creative ways. A knight using black magic or a fast-moving thief with healing skills can completely change your strategy. Building teams becomes just as important as winning battles. The story follows young nobles caught in a conflict far bigger than themselves, and the writing feels more mature than many RPGs because it focuses heavily on corruption, class division, and political manipulation. Chained Echoes feels like a classic 16-bit RPG brought into the modern era, with systems designed to keep battles fast and engaging from start to finish. Combat uses an overdrive system, where managing a shared meter becomes the key to survival. Staying in the safe zone boosts your effectiveness, but overheating leaves your party vulnerable, so every attack, skill, and defensive move matters. Battles rarely feel repetitive because enemies constantly force you to adapt instead of relying on one strategy. Exploration is another huge part of the experience, with airships, hidden areas, underwater sections, and giant mech combat eventually opening up the world in surprising ways. The story follows multiple characters pulled into a conflict involving war, ancient powers, and political tension between kingdoms, but it keeps introducing twists naturally without relying on cheap shock moments. Fire Emblem Three Houses combines tactical battles with school life systems in a way that makes you genuinely care about the people fighting beside you. You play as a professor at a military academy and choose one of 3 student houses to lead. But that single choice changes the story, relationships, and future conflicts in major ways. Between battles, you spend time teaching students, building bonds, sharing meals, training skills, and helping characters grow into specialized classes. That management side makes victories feel personal because you've spent so much time developing your team. Combat remains classic Fire Emblem strategy, with grid-based maps, weapon advantages, magic, mounted units, and permanent consequences if allies fall in battle. Positioning and planning matter constantly, especially during larger fights with multiple objectives. Sea of Stars captures the feeling of classic RPG adventures while making combat more interactive and modern. Battles use timed button presses for stronger attacks and defense, but the bigger mechanic revolves around breaking enemy spell locks before devastating abilities activate. Watching enemy patterns and coordinating party attacks becomes important quickly, which keeps combat engaging even during longer sessions. Exploration also feels rewarding because the world is filled with climbing, swimming, puzzle solving, hidden paths, and optional discoveries that make traveling feel more active than simply walking between towns. The story follows 2 young warriors trained to use the powers of the sun and moon against dangerous supernatural creatures, and while the adventure starts simple, it slowly grows into something much larger without losing its sense of charm. Character interactions feel warm and natural, helping the group chemistry carry the quieter moments between major events. Dragon Quest XI's feels like one of the purest modern JRPG adventures available on Switch, because it fully embraces exploration, party progression, and classic turn-based combat without overcomplicating things. You play as the Luminary, a young hero connected to an ancient legend, and the journey quickly expands into a massive adventure across kingdoms, forests, deserts, oceans, and hidden civilizations. The combat system is traditional but polished, focusing on party synergy, buffs, elemental attacks, and pet powers that trigger powerful combination abilities between characters. Every party member has their own skill trees and weapon specialties, allowing different playstyles depending on how you build your team. The world itself feels alive, because towns have unique cultures, NPCs constantly react to story events, and side activities like crafting, horse racing, and mini-quests help break up the main journey naturally. Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D Remake brings 2 legendary RPGs back with modern visuals while still preserving the simple, adventure-focused design that made them classics in the first place. The HD 2D presentation gives the world detailed pixel environments mixed with lighting and effects that make every town, castle, and dungeon feel more immersive without losing that nostalgic style. Dragon Quest I focuses on a lone hero traveling across a dangerous world to stop an ancient evil, creating a more isolated adventure where survival and preparation matter during exploration. Dragon Quest II expands the formula by introducing a party system, larger world, and more complex encounters that make battles feel more strategic. Both games keep the classic turn-based combat style, built around careful resource management, spell usage, and exploring dangerous areas while growing stronger over time.
Be gone!
Those are my picks for the 15 best turn-based RPGs on Nintendo Switch right now. Whether you want massive adventures, tactical strategy, emotional stories, or old-school grinding sessions, the Switch honestly has something for every RPG fan.